Nearly 10 years had passed since the Dursleys had woken up to find their nephew on the front step, but Privet Drive had hardly changed at all. Hello there, Pixies! Today is the second instalment of the Harry Potter Book Club. We are reading currently the Philosopher's Stone, or the Sorcerer's Stone, and this is Chapter 2, the Vanishing Glass. If you want to get caught up on the first one, that will be in the cards, and the summary for that chapter will be in the description below, as well as other little things that you can go check out if you want to. What I like about the first line of this chapter is simply how we see that Privet Drive hasn't changed, even though it's been a whole decade since Harry was left on the doorstep. It's interesting to think that when we stay still and static and we don't do very much of ourselves, we don't change our routines, things can start to go stale for us and we don't really make any progress. Speaking of progress, let's take a look at the biggest events of this chapter. We are introduced to 10-year-old Harry Potter, who is forced to live in a cupboard under the stairs and is mistreated by his Aunt Petunia, Uncle Vernon, and Cousin Dudley. It's Dudley's birthday and he's taking a trip to the zoo. Unable to find a babysitter, the Dursleys are forced to bring Harry along, to their chagrin. Harry somehow manages to speak to a boa constrictor at the reptile house and sets it free when the protective glass mysteriously vanishes. Some of my favourite things about this chapter. I love the interactions between Petunia Dursley and Dudley. Babying him like that and, spoiling him and giving him everything he wants, especially in the scene where there are presents, and he has 37 presents, I believe, and he's complaining because he doesn't have 39 or something. So he wants more presents. They're reassuring him that he can have them, but it's not really doing him any favours because, in life, sometimes you don't get what you want. Dudley needs to learn, and I feel like Petunia needs to let go a bit, but she can't because that's her son, and I kind of understand it, but she's basically ultimately setting him up for failure, and I really like the dynamic between the two of them. One of my favourite lines that just sums up exactly the difference between Harry's view of Dudley and Petunia's view of Dudley is this one. Aunt Petunia often said that Dudley looked like a baby angel. Harry often said that Dudley looked like a pig in a wig. Mrs. Fig is one of my favourite parts of this chapter, just seeing how Harry thinks of her and knowing that that's not necessarily who she actually is. It kind of shows that people can show you one face that they want to show you, and so that's the only perspective you have of them. Every year, Harry was left behind with Mrs. Fig, a mad old lady who lived 2 streets away. Harry hated it there. The whole house smelled of cabbage, and Mrs. Fig made him look at a photograph of all the cats she'd ever owned. So it's kind of cool that shows you looks can be deceiving, and this part really shows that for me, because as we know, some of us, not all of us, but as some of us know, in a later book, we kind of see a different side to her that we didn't see before and have a kind of new respect for her, and so does Harry. Harry gains a new respect for her. So it's just interesting to note that looks can be deceiving. Another favourite thing about this chapter for me is the snake itself. The snake, the boa constrictor in the zoo that Harry talks to, I feel like it's a metaphor for Harry himself. We find out that this snake is bred in captivity. In a way, so is Harry. He's pretty much a prisoner in his own home. He's treated poorly and seen as a kind of experiment for Dudley to punch, abuse, and both Harry and the snake have known nothing but abuse, ridicule, mocking, and a lonely existence. This is why Harry finds it so easy to empathise with the snake. My least favourite things about this chapter, well, this chapter reads a little bit more childishly than the first one. I feel like it's very simplistic compared to the first chapter. Not a lot goes on compared to the first chapter either. The only things that really happen in this chapter are Dudley's birthday and Harry talks to a snake. And though they set up the magic a little bit better and some more mystery, really and truly not a lot happens, and so it's quite a bit of a filler chapter. Here is my favourite section from this chapter. Harry moved in front of the tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom itself. No company except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass trying to disturb it all day. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least he got to visit the rest of the house. The snake suddenly opened its beady eyes. Slowly, very slowly, it raised its head until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. It winked. Then he looked quickly around to see if anyone was watching. They weren't. He looked back at the snake and winked too. The snake jerked its head towards Uncle Vernon and Dudley, then raised its eyes to the ceiling. It gave Harry a look that said quite plainly, "I get that all the time." "I know," Harry murmured through the glass, though he wasn't sure the snake could hear him. "It must be really annoying." The snake nodded vigorously. "Where'd you come from anyway?" Harry asked. The snake jabbed its tail at a little sign next to the glass. Harry peered at it. Boa constrictor, Brazil. Was it nice there? The boa constrictor jabbed its tail at the sign again, and Harry read on. This specimen was bred in the zoo. Oh, I see. So you've never been to Brazil? As the snake shook its head, a deafening shout behind Harry made both of them jump. "Dudley, Mr. Dursley, come and look at this snake. You won't believe what it's doing." Dudley came waddling toward them as fast as he could. "Out of the way, you," he said, punching Harry in the ribs. Caught by surprise, Harry fell hard on the concrete floor. What came next happened so fast, no one saw how it happened. 1 second, Piers and Dudley were leaning right up close to the glass. The next, they had leapt back with a howls of horror. Harry sat up and gasped. The glass front of the boa constrictor's tank had vanished. The great snake was uncoiling itself rapidly, slithering out onto the floor. People throughout the reptile house screamed and started running for the exits. As the snake slid swiftly past him, Harry could have sworn a low hissing voice said, "Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo." So I really loved that section. Sorry it was a bit long, and like I said before, I love how much empathy that Harry has for this snake. You can see what a good heart Harry has. He's been hard done by, but instead of getting bitter about it, he's there sympathising with a snake. A snake! I also love that he doesn't even question the fact that he's talking to a snake. He's so open-hearted and willing to just leap into the unexpected and unknown, and I love that about Harry. The last line of the chapter. At school, Harry had no one. Everybody knew that Dudley's gang hated that odd Harry Potter in his baggy old clothes and broken glasses, and nobody liked to disagree with Dudley's gang. Question of the day. If you could suddenly speak to any animal you like, what would it be? Comment down below with your thoughts. If you like this video, why not give it a big thumbs up? And let's see if we can get it to 20 likes. And also, if you're not subscribed already, why not subscribe so that you can be up to date for the next Harry Potter book club. The next chapter will be The Letters from No One. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.